Hello, I'm Dave.
And I'm Henry.
Today we'll be debating about whether the school climate change protests made a difference.
So I will debate in favour of them.
And I'll be debating against. So firstly, what do we think of the recent climate change protests in schools? I've got to say I felt that they were a bit pointless almost. They're like more of a sort of a gesture more than anything, concrete. I don't feel that they really would have made much of a difference to the politicians looking at it. People looking on, I think, would be more likely to look at these children and think, they could be doing something productive with their time rather than, get involved in the protests. I mean, did many of them even really care that much about it, or did they see it as a chance to get out of school? I didn't feel like there was really much substance behind it personally.
Okay. I partially agree with the prospect that some people might have just used it as an excuse to get out of classes, and maybe potentially politicians won't care so much what about children have to say. But I think protesting is like a really important political device, and I think if you can get people enthused about that from a young age, and if you can give them like this really unique experience that they wouldn't really get in school. You can't just say, okay, class, we're going to have protesting today. It's like in class, in school, okay, should we protest about school lunches? No, let's go to London, let's go in a big city centre and let's protest like something really big and really important. And I think that's a really important experience that young people should have.
Okay. Well, that takes us well onto our next question. Is protesting the best way to combat issues that you feel passionate about? I think you've made a good argument about why protests can be a good experience. But I feel that a protest can be more of a, as I said earlier, it's more of a show. It makes someone feel better about themselves or feel like they're contributing to something without necessarily doing anything to combat the issue. If these children really were passionate about climate change, they should look at ways that they and their families, because of course they can influence their parents, should be combating climate change in the home, or potentially cutting down on activities which are bad for the planet. Just going along to a protest might not necessarily do very much. So if they are passionate about it, maybe they should take a more practical way of doing so.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree about like being practical and having like a long sustained approach to it. But I think the way to sort of galvanise people into doing that is to just have one big gigantic demonstration that makes people think, oh, this is an issue. We need to start taking notice of this. And most of the time, just in your day-to-day life, you're not thinking about global warming and climate change. But when something like this happens, you have an impetus for people to think, I can make changes in my life. And on a scale, potentially MPs might start paying attention to what kids have to say. Like is it 10,000 signatures a petition has to get before they debate it?
Mm-hmm.
So if that protest creates a petition that has 10,000 signatures, that's already getting an arm into Parliament. So okay. I definitely think it's a way forward.
Lastly, and our ultimate question really is, will the school climate change protests make a difference? What do you think?
I think yes, they will. I think even if it's a small, just a tiny difference, like just a chip off the iceberg, it will help push the agenda that climate change needs to happen. Especially with young people protesting, I think you'll see lots of hippies and sort of Greenpeace groups arguing against climate change all the time. But when it's a group that is underrepresented in politics, like students, like children, I think that'll make a gigantic difference compared to everything else.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that, and I do agree with the principle that young people's voices do need to be heard. But the question, will it make a difference? I'm not sure it will. I think politicians already seem to ignore very good advice from people who are very well respected within scientific disciplines.
Okay.
So if they're not going to listen to them, or if they're going to listen more to the lobbying of big industry, why will these kids doing so? How will that change the situation? It might get some more people on board with the idea of wanting to combat climate change, but just getting people on board, is that really more effective than all of those children sort of making a concrete effort themselves to change things.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I do agree with some of your points. Definitely, you know, that sort of shock of having a big protest could maybe influence some people, but I feel that, you know, a better way to influence people would be to make changes in your own life, and then your peers or your family can see, you know, what you're doing, take influence on that. So, yeah.
Okay. So those are our thoughts. What do you think?